AI doesn't have a body. It doesn't have real-world senses. It can't perceive those nuances the same way.
Right.
It can crunch millions of data points, sure, but it can't feel the difference between a hallway that feels tight and a nook that feels cozy.
Right.
And the research backs this up. It shows expert designers have something like 3 times higher cognitive productivity than the novices just in this area.
3.
Yeah. It means their brains have literally wired themselves differently, more efficiently.
Yeah.
They're running these complex, multi-sensory simulations in their heads, almost automatically.
And that threefold advantage isn't just about talent. It's about something AI just can't do as well as you can. Because here's the thing, your clients already come to you with Pinterest boards full of pretty pictures. Generative AI just creates more of the same, inspiration images. But you're the one who figures out how to make those concepts and dreams actually work in a 1970s split-level bungalow with a horrible floor plan and an $18,000 budget. When contractors quit mid-project, materials get discontinued, and clients panic about every decision. AI has no answers, but you do. You navigate the crisis, manage the relationships, and somehow still create beautiful, livable spaces. AI can't do that, but you can. In today's episode of the Interior Designer podcast, we're breaking down the 10 core reasons why skilled interior designers will never, ever be replaced by AI. Let's get to it.
Wow. There's no escaping the buzz around AI these days, is there?
No, it's everywhere.
It feels like every conversation, from the coffee shop to the boardroom, it eventually swings around to how artificial intelligence is going to change things up, the future of work.
Mm-hmm.
And, the big question that's always kind of hanging there, can AI really replicate human creativity? Or complex problem solving, can it actually replace human expertise?
It's such a critical question. I mean, really foundational for figuring out where we're headed, economically and socially.
Yeah.
And look, AI tools, especially these large language models, the LLMs, they're getting incredibly sophisticated, no doubt about it.
Right.
But there's still a huge difference between automating tasks, the routine stuff, and truly replicating that nuanced, intuitive judgment that defines real human mastery.
I couldn't agree more. And today, we're doing a deep dive into a field that, it touches our daily lives, our personal spaces, maybe more than we even realize. Residential interior design.
It's a fascinating area.
And our mission, really, is to unpack the top 10 core reasons why those highly experienced residential interior designers, the real veterans, have this irreplaceable value. Something AI, particularly LLMs, just can't replicate. Not now, probably not for a long time.
And we're drawing this straight from recent research, insights from the field.
Exactly. So think of this as maybe a shortcut for you, the listener, to understand not just what AI can't do, but also the incredible, often overlooked depth of human expertise.
Yeah, getting clarity on what real mastery looks like in a very tangible profession. And frankly, why these seasoned pros are absolutely worth it to their clients.
Yeah.
They really shouldn't be worried about AI replacing them.
Okay, so let's dig in. Point 1. When we talk about a master interior designer, you said it starts with how they literally see and feel a space in their mind. What's this embodied spatial intelligence?
It's really interesting. We often think design is purely visual, right? But expert designers develop these advanced 3D spatial visualization abilities, and it comes directly from physical experience, from being in countless actual spaces.
Ah, okay. Not just looking at pictures.
Not just pictures. Imagine them walking into an empty room. In their mind's eye, they're instantly translating that 2D blueprint into a 3D reality. They're predicting how sunlight will hit a fabric swatch at 4 p.m. versus 9 a.m.
Wow.
Or how sound might bounce around in a room with high ceilings. They sense proportion relationships, not just calculate them. It's about how it feels.
So it's way beyond just processing measurements. It's anticipating the whole, sensory experience.
Precisely. AI doesn't have a body. It doesn't have real-world senses. It can't perceive those nuances the same way.
Right.
It can crunch millions of data points, sure, but it can't feel the difference between a hallway that feels tight and a nook that feels cozy.
Right.
And the research backs this up. It shows expert designers have something like 3 times higher cognitive productivity than the novices just in this area.
3.
Yeah. It means their brains have literally wired themselves differently, more efficiently.
Yeah.
They're running these complex, multi-sensory simulations in their heads, almost automatically, which frees up mental energy for the creative problem-solving part. It's intuition built from years of physically being in spaces.
Okay, so beyond just seeing the space, you mentioned something deeper, this tacit knowledge. You said it's almost impossible to digitize. Tell me more about that.
Right. This is that deep layer, sometimes called embodied knowing.
Mhm.
It's the intuition about how spaces will really feel, how they'll sound, how they'll function day to day.
Okay.
This isn't stuff you can just list out in an algorithm or pour into a database. It develops over decades. Watching people move through spaces, seeing how materials wear and tear, how light changes with the seasons.
Uh-huh.
It includes this unconscious skill in predicting how people will naturally move, a sensitivity to the building's existing architecture, understanding how, I don't know, humidity or sunlight might affect the design long term.
So let me see if I get this. It's like knowing a fabric is fire rated versus instinctively knowing how it will drape or how its texture changes the acoustics.
Exactly. Or knowing that a floor plan, even if it technically fits everything, will just feel wrong because of where the doors are.
Mm.
Or that putting slate floors in the kitchen will make it echo so much you can't have a conversation.
Right. Okay.
This knowledge is so baked in through real interaction through senses, you just can't fully explain it, let alone code it. AI can tell you what's popular, what dimensions fit, but it can't tell you how a space truly lives or breathes.
Okay, but design isn't just theory, right? What happens when that perfect plan meets messy reality? Budgets explode, materials disappear, contractors hit snags. How do the experts handle that real-time pressure?
Well, this is where the masters really earn their stripes. They excel at juggling all those competing constraints. They use systematic approaches that novices just haven't developed yet.
Like what kind of constraints?
Okay, imagine the custom tile you planned the whole bathroom around, suddenly discontinued, globally.
Right.
Or your main contractor gets COVID mid-project. A less experienced person might just freeze up,
Yeah, I would.
but an expert. They make split-second calls. They're balancing the budget, the deadline, the look, the client's sanity all at once.
So it's not just having a plan B, it's like knowing how and when to pivot without the whole thing collapsing. That sounds incredibly stressful.
It is. They use what we call hierarchical thinking. They keep the big picture, the core design integrity in mind while being flexible in the details. This involves really sophisticated value engineering.
Value engineering.
Yeah, knowing where you can substitute something smartly to save cost or time without wrecking the vision. Like knowing this specific element is crucial to the client, but over here, we can find a clever, less expensive alternative that still looks great.
That sounds like art and science.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the data shows they're much better at hitting timelines, maybe 30% better adherence than less experienced designers. Why? Because they anticipate these constraints better and solve problems faster.
And building on that, things going sideways, it's not just fixing the practical stuff, is it? It's about keeping the client's trust when things get hairy. How do they manage the crisis and keep those relationships intact?
Oh, absolutely critical. Research suggests something like 9 out of 10 construction projects hit cost overruns.
9 out of 10. Wow.
Yeah, so challenges are almost guaranteed. And that means high stress for clients. Master designers are brilliant at maintaining trust through these disasters. It's not just problem solving. It's advanced emotional intelligence. It's transparent communication. It's finding creative ways forward that don't break the relationship.
Because it's their home, often their biggest investment. It's deeply personal.
Exactly. They get that.
Can you give an example of that adaptability?
Sure, think back just a few years. The COVID pandemic. Supply chains just broke. You couldn't meet clients in person. Anxiety was through the roof.
Right.
Expert designers didn't just throw up their hands. They pivoted fast. Digital consultations, new ways to show materials online, strict safety protocols for any site work. They kept projects moving, kept clients feeling supported, even in total chaos. They were the steady hand, communicating proactively about delays, offering solutions. That builds incredible trust.
You know, it makes sense. Renovations are famously stressful. People say it's up there with moving, divorce even. How do designers navigate that emotional side for clients?
This is where that sophisticated EQ really shines. They're not just picking sofas, they're managing serious human stress. Think about decision paralysis. It affects maybe 70% of renovation clients? So many choices.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Overwhelming.
Totally. Master designers help clients through that. They navigate tricky family dynamics, like spouses wanting completely different things. They deal with people's attachment to their old space, the anxiety of change, and of course the financial stress, which can trigger really strong reactions.
So they're kind of part designer, part therapist.
In a way, yeah. They use structured approaches. Like instead of showing 50 tile samples, they curate maybe 5 really good options that fit the brief. They manage expectations proactively. They act as emotional guides, psychological anchors, reassuring people when it all feels like too much.
And that pays off.
Hugely. The research suggests they get significantly higher client referral rates, like maybe 85% higher, specifically because they're good at managing that anxiety. It's not just service, it's understanding the human core of the project.
Okay, so decisions are made, anxieties are managed. Then you need the actual stuff, the materials, the craftspeople. You mentioned vendor relationship capital. What's that about?
This is huge. It's an invaluable asset, and it takes years, often decades, to build. Master designers cultivate these strong, long-term relationships with contractors, artisans, suppliers, furniture makers.
It's not just a contacts list, then.
No, it's much deeper. It's built on trust, history, reciprocity. This network lets them pull strings when things go wrong, find alternatives when something's suddenly out of stock, negotiate better prices for their client, ensure quality control because they know the vendor's work. An online search just can't do that.
So if that trendy faucet is backordered for 6 months, their call might actually find one. Or find a perfect substitute nobody else thought of.
Exactly. Or if a key painter gets sick, they can call another trusted pro they've worked with for 15 years who might squeeze the job in as a favor. This social capital, this deep supply chain knowledge, lets them swap things out in real time, handle crises without compromising quality or the client's vision. AI can't build relationships. It doesn't have social capital. That's purely human.
Right. Okay, beyond the aesthetics, the people skills, the networks, there's this whole other layer, the technical side. Building codes, safety regulations. That sounds critical, but maybe less visible.
Oh, it's absolutely critical and often overlooked. Something like 26 states actually require licenses for interior designers, often involving tough technical exams.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Expert designers need comprehensive knowledge of building codes local, national. Construction methods, material science, things like flammability ratings, durability for kids or pets, moisture resistance for bathrooms, and integrating building systems, HVAC, electrical, plumbing. It all has to work together.
So they're not just making it pretty, they're making sure it's safe, legal, and functional.
Precisely. They make critical judgments about safety and liability constantly. Where can an outlet go safely in a kitchen? Does this fabric meet fire code for this type of building? Can the floor structure support that heavy island?
AI could look up the codes, though, couldn't it?
It could look them up, yes. But can it make the contextual judgment? Can it weigh competing factors in a specific, unique situation? And crucially, can it be held accountable? If there's a safety issue, it's the human designer who bears the professional and legal responsibility, not the algorithm. That accountability is huge.
Okay, it really sounds like a master designer's brain is working overtime, processing all this. How does pattern recognition fit into this? You mentioned that earlier.
It's a massive part of their efficiency, that 3x cognitive productivity we talked about. It comes from seeing thousands and thousands of unique projects over decades. They build this incredible mental database.
So they see things others miss.
Instantly. They can walk into a space, see a certain type of water stain, and immediately recognize it signals a recurring plumbing issue from the 1950s. Or hear a client say they want something comfortable and instantly connect it to a specific, maybe obscure design style they encountered years ago.
While AI might just search for images tagged comfortable.
Exactly. AI struggles with the context, the why, the subtle human meaning behind the request, the potential implications of that water stain. Experts connect these disparate dots based on lived experience. They spot potential problems or opportunities way before anyone else does.
Which leads us neatly into point 9, I think. Adaptive problem solving under ambiguity. Because life and design is full of gray areas.
Totally. And this is where experts truly excel when the standard answers don't work. They don't just follow a script. They generate multiple possible solutions. They adapt their strategy on the fly when they hit unexpected novel problems. They use this working forward thinking. They don't just treat the symptom like a leak. They figure out the root cause to prevent it from happening again and causing other problems down the line.
So if a client has a really weird request, or the house has some bizarre structural quirk, they don't just get stuck.
Not the good ones. They might have, say, a strangely angled wall that makes standard furniture placement impossible, or a client insists on incorporating a massive, oddly shaped antique that throws off the whole room's balance.
Yeah.
The expert finds a way. They make these creative leaps. They innovate when there's no clear path, no precedent in the data. That's human ingenuity. AI is great at optimizing based on known data, but it struggles with true invention when faced with genuine ambiguity. It can't really create a totally new solution. It mostly remixes what it's already seen.
Okay, so summing it all up,
Right.
what's the absolute final core human element here? The one AI really can't touch.
It has to be ethical judgment and professional accountability. This is fundamental.
Right.
Expert designers are required ethically and often legally to make complex judgments, and they are held responsible for those decisions, especially when things get tricky or ambiguous.
So like ensuring safety codes are met even if the client wants to skip them.
Exactly. That covers legal compliance, the client's well-being, the integrity of the design itself. If a client wants to use a cheaper material that isn't safe for purpose, the designer has an obligation to push back, to educate, to find a safe alternative, even if it risks the relationship or the fee.
It's about doing the right thing, not just the possible thing.
Yeah.
And taking ownership.
Precisely. You can program AI with ethical rules, sure. But AI doesn't have a conscience. It can't exercise true moral reasoning. It doesn't feel regret. It doesn't build a reputation over decades based on integrity. The buck stops with the human. That professional and legal burden shapes every decision in a way technology just can't replicate.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the message seems really clear. AI. Definitely going to be a powerful tool. It'll augment what designers do, handle routine tasks.
For sure.
But replace them. Replace those truly irreplaceable human capabilities of master interior designers. Not happening.
Not happening. The real value, the lasting value, is in that sophisticated mix, the deep technical know-how, the high emotional intelligence, the complex relationship management, that hard-won intuitive judgment, and the ability to creatively solve problems under fire.
It's not just what they know. It's how they think, adapt, and connect on a human level, creating spaces that actually work for people.
Exactly. Spaces that resonate.
So it makes you think, doesn't it? What does this look into interior design mastery tell us about the future of expertise in other fields, and maybe for you listening? What unique human superpowers do you think AI will never truly master? Something to ponder.
That wraps up this episode of the Interior Design Her podcast. Today's podcast is a response to the concern I hear often from interior designers, a fear that their business is going to be put out of business thanks to AI. And while I am personally spending a lot of time and money developing a suite of AI tools for interior designers, I 100% believe that AI will never ever take your job. It just can't do what you do. What it will do is transform the business side of your interior design business. You know, the stuff you have to do when you'd rather be designing interiors. Well, that's it for this podcast. If you received any value from this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review. It really helps us get discovered by new listeners who need to hear this. See you next time.